want to go back over what we just said in the beginning because I think it's so, so important.
Yeah, it
Look,
is.
we live in a world where, I think mental health, the whole mental health epidemic, the crisis has kind of done good things, but it's also done a lot of bad things. I think often we're too soft on ourselves. I think we focus too much on our trauma being a source of, oh, there. It'll be okay. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Instead of it becoming the source of lighting a fire under your backside and then thrusting you into what you want, creating what you want, creating the life you want, doing what you really, really choose to do. That's what trauma and pain is there for. It is meant to light that fire under your backside. It's not there to make you go, oh, I need to sit down and relax and I need to rest and I need to spend time healing, working on myself. All of that to me is complete nonsense. Okay, for the most part. Not all of it, but for the most part. So, when it comes to your dating relationships, like I said, unfortunately, I see it all too often that people come to me, they think they've got loads of time. They come at the age of 25 thinking, I got loads of time to find a partner, 30, etc. But some of them come back to me 5 years, 10 years. I've been doing this long enough that that happens, where people come back to me 10 years later and they're like, oh my God, I've let too much time slip by because I thought I had loads and loads and loads of time. And now I just realized that I'm, almost too late to have children, for God's sake. And so my job, what I'm trying to do for you is to make sure that just exactly in the example I gave of that CV, of that job, I want to light a fire under your backside, proverbially, of course, just to clarify. But just make sure you've got the leverage to get this done. I'm going to make you feel some pain. I'm going to make you feel very uncomfortable during these coaching sessions because I would be a terrible coach if I didn't. But I need you to do that so that it gets you to move and do and act and make things happen. That's my job. That's what I'm here for as a coach.
Well,
As a 30-year-old, right? If I was a 30-year-old and I was having a conversation with you, it's likely that you would say to me, oh, like don't mess around with your time. Like life
I
is
tell
short.
people,
Exactly, right? And the thing is, if you speak to any of the 50-year-olds that I speak to now, they're going to say the same thing to you right now. Look, like what they're going to say to you specifically, the words they're going to use, because I hear it all the time, is they're going to remind you that it's only going to get harder. So you've got a choice. You do it now
well,
while it's still relatively straightforward at your age. I think it's harder, but it's not necessarily, and it's not impossible or anything like that. It is slightly more complicated, but it's only going to get harder if you put it off. If you look on social media right now, so many people out there, obviously, talking about, I'm going to be single forever, right? And this, again, goes down to just what I was saying earlier, right? It's harder. And so people are just thinking, I'll just give up, relationships aren't worth it anymore, etc., etc. But then I remember I posted this video the other day on my Instagram. It's a beautiful scene from a movie called Shall We Dance? And the scene,
mm,
man and woman are talking, and she says to him, why do we get married? And he was like, what's the most important thing? He's like, passion. She's like, no, it's so you have a witness to your life. There's someone there to witness your
yeah.
existence. Because once you're gone, you're gone. No one else is going to remember you except the person who is there with you or create some sort of legacy for you. So that's why we get married. Of course, you may have kids and grandkids, great, but that comes generally through marriage.
Mm,
That you have these people who witness your life, who remember you, who actually, honor you, after you're gone. They want you. Wouldn't you want your grandkids to kind of like talk about my nanny? She was amazing. She told us how to, light a rocket in our backsides as well and get shit done, kind of thing.
yeah.
She was a gangster granny. That's like what my, Nidhi talks like that about her.
Yeah.
The grand.
Yeah.
That's the kind of impact I'm trying to get people to have, like not sink into, nice thoughts about this and that, and life is short, and we just say it as hyperbole. No, I want you to really feel it. No, don't just say these nice words, feel it. So
I
what you're
know that.
experiencing right now is me subtly planting seeds in your head right now. And this is what coaching is. It's very subtle. It's very not very, people think you go through these major exercises and you do. No, yeah, of course you sometimes do, depending on who it is and what the needs are. But essentially, I'm planting seeds. Every time we speak, I'm going to be planting more and more seeds until we affect change in you that gets you to that end goal that you want. This is where the specifics come in. This is what I mentioned earlier, right? Of course. Then there are the very specialty parts of knowledge that I have, which is your selection criteria. How do you, right? For example, let me give you another quick example so you understand this as
Mm,
clear as possible. There are so many people I speak to. I have a conversation with them and I ask them, when you had that relationship initially, were there some sort of like, I know, sorry, it's such an overused phrase and I hate saying it, but just for the sake of time, were there red flags that were there that you kind of dismissed? And they were like, yes. And I'm like, exactly what I'm talking about. Don't get me wrong, will there be challenges in relationships? But I think we're, as human beings, we're smart enough to know the difference between something that's going to be a challenge in a relationship versus something which is a blatant red flag. I think we all know that deep down. I don't think we need anyone to educate us on that. But the problem is these people were telling me basically that they knew deep down in their gut this person was not right for them. There was something wrong here, but they went ahead because there was an overriding voice. But maybe you're being silly. They kind of shut this voice down a little bit and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But even if there is challenges, let's say you meet someone, and what I wouldn't want you to do is bury those thoughts. If there is an issue in your relationship, the biggest problems is just lack of communication. And actually, I'm going to say it a little bit more because actually women are actually slightly worse at communicating than men, in my opinion, despite what contrary to popular belief, because women don't say it as it is, men do. And I think
Mm.
from that perspective, just direct communication, men are better. Women tend to say things between the lines, but they'll say it in a completely different way. You know, those typical scenes you might see of, you might see on social media as a skit or something, and a man says, "What's wrong?" and the woman says, "Oh, nothing." But her body language
Yeah.
is saying everything, but she won't say it. She won't say what's wrong.
Expecting
If
him to
you've
know.
asked a direct question, he said, "What's wrong?" and she's not able to answer. And then this is what I'm talking about, that if you meet someone and you have any particular questions, lingering questions over the top of your head, let's say his name was Raj, for example, just as an example,
Mm.
I want you to be able to feel empowered that you're able to have a conversation and say, Raj, I love our relationship. I think we're getting on great, but there are a couple of things I think it's worth us discussing just to understand, that this is going in the right direction. This is what we both want. How hard is it to have that conversation? It isn't really that hard, but we just don't do it. Too many people leave things unsaid. This is the specifics I'm talking about. So we're talking in the relationship scenario.
You
Some
know.
people
Yeah.
need more help on the dating side. Some people need more help at the initial side, like that having those tough conversations. And then some people come to me for help for deeper down in the relationship as well. So
Yeah.
all of these three things matter. Like, for some people, they're terrible at flirting. So that's the initiation stage. So they need a lot of help there. And then I help them with the very, very kind of, my expertise there, the specifics, etc., that go along with that. How do you actually flirt? How do you actually, have create that beautiful, more, that chemistry, that connection that needs to be there for at least for it to go to the next step, because most people won't take things to the next step until they feel a little bit of that, at least a tiny bit of that. And you can just, a lot of people are just scared, so they don't say things or they don't know how to act. They're nervous, and I help them get over that, so they gives them a better chance of creating that.
Right.
So just to summarize that anyway, there are parts of this coaching which are going to be a slightly more general. That is helping you with perhaps a little bit of confidence, or equipping you with the skills to be able to communicate better in a relationship. And then there might be some more of the specifics, which is, it could be the flirty thing. It could be being able to sink into your feminine energy and what that looks like and what that means, and actually how that translate into actions during that sort of interaction, etc. So it could be the full spectrum. I can see in your head right now, you're already thinking, you're deep in thought. And it's good because actually what's happening right now, you don't even realize it. I can see from your eyes that your brain is completely rewiring in this moment. You don't realize it, but I can see it.
I don't know if
I can see
everybody
it. I can
sounds
see
going through it.
No, it is. I can see it. I can see it. I mean, it may not seem significant to you, but I can see it happening. From your eye movement, I can tell what's going on in your brain. Your brain is going, really? Wow, all this stuff. I did what? What? This is what your brain's doing right now. But what it's doing is rewiring now as a result. And this is planting the seeds. This is what I'm talking about. It's planting the seeds so that you can accept this information more as we go down the line. And just as on the opposite side as well, again, I want you to think in this way. There's women out there who there's on the WhatsApp group, there's a brain surgeon, there's a nuclear physicist on the WhatsApp group. These people are very clever, very intelligent, but sometimes they feel like they intimidate men. So they have the opposite problem to you. So generally speaking, from a a bit of a neuroscience, a bit of a psychological perspective. Women
Mm.
tend to date up hypergamy, and men tend to date down hypogamy. I don't know how it's pronounced, hypogamy.
Yeah. Mm.
And so that's it is. So men are less concerned about with what you do. That's more a you issue. But I don't think men care too much as women think. They want to know that I don't care. They want to know you're a good partner in this context. What you're thinking right now may be having affecting your confidence when it comes to dating. Confidence is the wrong word anyway. Actually, confidence is skill, but in terms of your esteem because of your
Mm.
status. But most men don't worry too much about that, and it shouldn't affect your ability to be a good partner, should it? True or false? Exactly.
It
So why
shouldn't.
worry about it in that context? Get used to separating those two areas of your life. You could still be an amazing partner.
Mm.
What did you tell me a little while ago? You want to get into, potentially, healthcare, sort of maybe on the psychological counseling side or whatever as well. What does that tell me? It tells me you're a very caring person. So, of course, that's one of the biggest assets that people look for. Does the other person care? So actually, in from an esteem perspective, I think you should elevate your status somewhat because you are a good person.